Hi, welcome to Opsrace training program. In this session, we'll look at how APIs work. So some action we will look at here. So once you install this Postman, this is a software which will be used to make the HTTP call to test our REST API and the working of the REST API. So this is an amazing tool. Let's start with this. So once you install, you may see something like this. If not, click on home screen. So we are interested in workspaces. We may have a default workspace. If not, we can click here and we can create a blank workspace, and let's call it API testing, and I just want to use it for personal use. Create, and my APIs are created. So this is my workspace for API testing. You can create multiple workspace for each project, and then we can create basically different collection in a workspace. A collection is like a folder which consists of multiple APIs. So I will call it cars operation. So this is the folder, this is the collection. I can create a request, add request here, and I will call it list all cars. Okay. I will use HTTP, then the address. So the address is localhost because everything is running on my local machine. By default the port is 80, so you don't have to mention, but as I'm running this on a different port which is called 8080, so I will type that port number here. After that, I want to call API. I want to call its version 1, and I will call cars. So this is a sample for the API URL. This is how the endpoint look like. So whenever you have to make call for the API, you will use the API prefix, then version 1, which is basically the start or the base version we started with, and then cars is basically that resource that we discussed in the previous session. So whenever infrastructure or the architecture changes and you want to support both version altogether, we will create the copy of the API, make the changes, and then call it v2. We'll discuss this later sometime. Okay, now we'll make the HTTP requests. Just hit. So we respond, we got the response 200. Okay, 17 millisecond, and this was the size basically 166 KB because the header contains the 164 byte and body contains 2 byte. Okay, so this is one collection. This is our collection, which is a folder. This is our first API. Let's duplicate this, and we're gonna call it get1, and here we can use the ID 1 for this. We will call it, and it says car not found, and we can see the header message 404. This is HTTP status 404. This is very important. The HTTP status is very important. It's something that server tries to tell us if he was able to successfully process the request, which is 200 generally, and 400 series error are there is some problem with the input. So the ID we entered 1 does not exist, so that's why we are receiving this message. Okay, so this is a new system, so we don't have anything. So I will create a new request here, and I'm gonna call it create. Okay, and this would be again instead of get, we will use post. We don't need this thing. We need to create body. So body will have text, some raw text as JSON. Okay, so here we will define body. So JSON, as you know, it's a JavaScript object notation. It's very simple. So this is whenever you have to define an object is a collection of attributes. So you start with this curly brackets. You can define key a b something abc, and xyz, something like that. So this is the key, this is the value, and if you have to enter another one, you just have to use the comma. So we'll use here, this is some hypothetical number. So this is the key, this is the value. Okay, we'll use make Honda model is basically city. Okay, so this is the information of the car that I want to save. I will make the request. So post request has been made and server has returned us 200 okay response with 83 millisecond. And this was the size of the body, the response, which contains 73 bytes of body and 164 bytes of the header. Okay, so we create our first car. Let's create couple of more. LEX some number 2233 Honda City 125 GB. I don't know what it is, but let's create this. So this car is also created. Let's call our previous API get. So we can see here, we can see all the cars that we have saved so far. This represent an array. Array mean more than one items, and a single item in this array is an object, because this is the curly braces. An object contain multiple attributes, so these are all attributes defined as key value pair. So we have two objects. So let's try to find us one particular car 4037. We will use here 4037. Let's make the call, and we got our car number. So if we want to use 308, this does not exist, so we have 404 not found. If we use 4037, we can get 200, which is okay, and we can get the object. In case of error, it's really important that we return some application level code. Maybe application understand what the specific code is. User friendly or developer friendly message car not found, and here we can see the HTTP status code. Okay, we'll save this. Let's duplicate this. Okay, and we're gonna call it update. Okay, for update we will use the put method in the body. So we want to update this one, and let's press send. It says car not found because we haven't mentioned the ID. Let's say ID 4037, and let's update this. Okay, 437 is updated. So whatever you want to update it to, XYZ, let's send it. So it's updated alphabet. So we can see here we can change anything here except the ID. We can change everything because that's how it will search for the existing car and update that accordingly. Let's go to the list car option, and we can see here this one is updated. Okay, let's save this so that's updated. So we have listed the car, we have get one car, we have created a car, we have updated a car. Let's create one more car here. So I'm going to call it 9876 Elswin, and we can, the model would be Lumiere. Okay, so let's create this. So 4038 new car is created. Okay, and if we go here, we should be able to see three results here. So this is an array, this is an object 1 2 3, and we can see here Elswin Lumiere. Let's delete this one I'm going to duplicate this simply. I'm gonna call it delete. Here I will just change the HTTP method to delete. Let's call it says car not found because this does not exist. The car which is a valid 4037. So I'm going to call this, and it says operation successful. We received 200, which means the car is deleted. Let's go here on the list. We can see that 4037 is not listed anymore. So this is the CRUD operation that we just saw. Okay, now important thing is in update, if you want to change single value, we have to pass the whole object. If we don't, we will see error. So let's call this, it says car does not exist, 4038. I guess if I want to change only make and model, it may override rest of the things. Just say car's registration is cannot be null, so we need car registration number, and I am just going to make the call with this. We can see here I just tried to update one field and it just overridden the rest of the field with null value, because in update we completely replace the object. So whatever is passed in this object is replaced in the database with the same values. If you do not pass any attribute, that means it's a null value. So we have lost the information. We can apply certain checks that make should not be null, model should not be null, but still I have to pass a lot of information again and again if I just want to change the model. For that we usually create patch API. So I just duplicate this, and we will use here the patch, and then there is a very specific format for the patch, but we don't have that implementation right now, so that's why it may not work. But let me show you the error, how the error look like, or what will happen if I want to change, let's say make to ABC. So we can see HTTP method not supported. So patch method is not supported. The API is written in a very typical way where we haven't implemented the patch. We have just implemented all these methods. Remember, patch is a partial update where I want to update the specific field. If we want to replace the complete object, I will use the put method. So this is a very common question asked from the QA, asked from the developers in interview, like what is the difference between put and patch. And 99.999% developer never implement patch method in a way that it should be. But we will look at this at a later stage, how to properly implement this method. That's it for now. Thank you. See you in the next lecture.